I am so happy to have Dean in the house. I met Dean at the NABIP conference in Chicago. Now, he and I are both in the same district for NABIP, and I don't even know why we started talking, Dean, but he just started, he was like, I had a question, and he just started giving me all his knowledge. And I'm like, oh, Dean's been around a while. So I want to know, how long have you been in the industry, in the insurance world?
Well, Chris, like I said to you in Chicago at that NABIP event, I came with the furniture in this business. So I've been here a long time. And I've been in this business for about 40 years, believe it or not.
40 years. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And then
Perhaps older than most of the folks on the line, but I've enjoyed it, and it continues to be part of my life.
And you could be retired now fishing because you like fishing, but you're still doing it, right? Because you
Exactly.
enjoy doing it.
Exactly. And the reason I continue this is it is a complicated industry. I enjoy it. I started my career right out of college, and it gets complicated, and I enjoy uh, teaching everybody about this. There's so many moving parts, and just enjoy the educational aspect of it, the professional development.
Right. So the question I have for you before I let you take it over is
Okay.
what was your story? What was the person that you impacted that made you go, okay, this isn't just a job. This is now a career and has made you stick with it for 40 years.
Wow. Okay, and there's only one person that comes to mind. His name is Dick Zunker, Richard Zunker. He hired me right out of college, came to my university, interviewed me, and this insurance thing sounds good. I liked him. Professional, nice suit. I liked the tie. I remember that vividly. And way back then, that was pretty cool. And I went to work for him in Milwaukee, starting at their operation, and working with him has made my career. He recently retired as chairman of the board of Safeco, and he's a good man. And so he said he taught me what he knew. I honored him, and he was respectful and understood this business like nobody could. And I said, I want to be like that. And he taught me then, and I still do it now, as I want to pay it forward. I mean, he liked the educational aspect of it. That was a long answer. Sorry.
Well, there you go, because he taught you it wasn't about sales. It was about
Correct.
educating, right? And that's why I do this, because it's the sales come, the sales are needed, we make a living, but it's about educating and doing the right thing. You know, we don't have to be the unethical call centers, you know,
Exactly.
we can make a
Exactly.
positive impact and still make a living.
The more you know, I had a quota just like everybody else has, okay? But the more I knew about the industry, the more those sales came in because I was able to answer those questions professionally, accurately, and keep my then customers informed. And that just continues today. Yes, I'd sooner be fishing, but I'm here today, but that's okay.
So yeah, go ahead and share. I know,
Sure.
so like I said, I met Dean at NABIB, and we recently met, our chapter met down in Madison, and he's part of the NABIB, which is why I wanted him to come on and share with you what's NABIB doing. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. It was Nahu for a long time, and sometimes I still say Nahu, but never made sense, right? I'm like,
Right.
underwriters, I'm an agent. Why am I getting things from them? So their name change was probably a good thing.
Chris, you're exactly right. And I'm going to call you Coach Chris today, if that's okay. I
That's
love
fine.
that. Yes, it was called the National Association of Health Underwriters. And I was on the board of directors in Washington. And I remember arguing with my then colleagues on the board, show me an underwriter in this organization. We have none. And the old school then said, oh, no, we're never going to change. Well, we did. And finally, so we became the National Association of Benefits and Insurance Professionals, NABIP for short, or as what I like to call us all as NABIPians, if that's a real word,
Nabipians.
NABIPians.
Nabipians. All right.
I appreciate you asking me to talk about NABIP. It is an organization that is very near and dear to my heart and helped me with my career. As I mentioned earlier, just a little bit about me. Right out of college, I got into this business. I was a company rep for an organization, and I remember way back then, someone said, if you want to meet people, join Nahu at the time. And I became a member of NABIP way back then. And as my background goes, I have been in the employee benefit field for, like I said, a long time. And it's been in the self-funded large employer space. That's my background. I do own my own consulting firm. I still do consulting. As much as I try to fish more and pull away, they pull me right back in. And so I still do consulting work, so the company is still active. And at the end of the day, I do a lot of training for agents, brokers, consultants, human resource specialists around the country on advanced self-funded concepts, large employer, on the non-insurance space. So been around a long time. I've been very active with NABIP, was the Wisconsin president here many years ago. Chris, maybe you didn't even know that, all right? I was on the board of directors of NABIP in Washington, D.C., right during when ACA was hitting the fan.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I was in DC during that process. I'll come back to that, but I got to know that city, on free time. I saw everything there was to see. I ran out of things to see. So someone says, well, there's a church. Let's go in there and let's see that one, and we just ran out. So I was there a lot as a citizen lobbyist. But a little bit about NABIP, if I could. The organization's been around, oh gosh, over 75 years. And we represent
Do you want to
seven.
screen share?
Oh, yeah, hey, that's a good idea. Thank you. Oh,
And just so you guys know, I joined NABIP because I got a spam email, but I was liking the emails and I joined, and I wasn't active. I will be the first to admit, but I liked being able to log on and see their stuff. So I became a member probably 5 years ago.
Wow.
But this year was the first year that I actually started connected and went, all right, now I have some time. Now I want to be involved.
Well, Chris, you've asked me to just give you an overview of this, and
Yep.
that's what we'll do. And you said I had 90 minutes, is that right?
No, not
Just
90.
kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I asked Chris what the time frame is, and being a speaker around the country, I know how to fit the time, and I can do that. But NABIP is a nonprofit organization. It's a professional organization for agents, brokers, and consultants, the insurance industries, the professionals. We represent over 100,000 agents nationally, 100,000 agents nationally with over 200 chapters. As a nonprofit, the headquarters is in Washington, D.C., and oddly enough, NAHU, way back in its day, was actually first formed in Wisconsin and Chicago. That's where it all started. Of course, go to DC where all the rules and regs are developed on a federal level. There's an additional 200 chapters throughout the country. My state has chapters. Some states like California, if there's anybody from California, I think there's a dozen different chapters that are local. And so the organization has done very well for the industry and the consumers that we serve. Collectively, our job is to ensure that Americans have high access to high quality and affordable health care. That's what you're doing. That's what you're here. That's what your career is about. And that's what NABIP is all about. The interest of the members, we work very hard for them, and both legislatively, and I'm going to go through a couple of those areas that we provide value to you, the agent, broker, consultant. As this landscape changes, and trust me, having spent and having read ACA, all 2,000, whatever pages, I had to help an insurance company implement that. That was a nightmare. And someone says, how do you eat an elephant? One piece of it at a time. And that's how we did it. We took this piece, assigned it to that team. It was a nightmare, but an eye-opener for me. And so in one breath, I'm helping an insurance company implement ACA. On the next breath, I'm flying to DC to make sure that our legislative folks are doing it right. Because remember, when you're dealing with someone in Washington, I'm not going to pick on them, but to them, healthcare has been nothing more than the marketplace. They've had a marketplace for years. You mean you don't just pick something out of a book like us? No. Us real folks are. I didn't mean to say it that way. Us,
But
us
no,
folks
but I
out,
mean, you know, they were not, and we know this,
yeah,
sometimes in Congress, they're not necessarily doing what we're doing, right?
exactly. And I remember having to explain how employers find health insurance, how individuals secure health insurance through an agent, understanding the market, what's valid in their state. And so it was a real process to do. So as more professionals join the association, the stronger we get as an organization. And some of the pieces that I'm about to show you are the value proposition of becoming a member. And I am a 36-year member, 36 years. It has been and brought to me an enormous value to my career and to me personally, having dealt with Congress and even in my own state legislature. It has been a very rewarding opportunity for me. So let's talk about the value here. How do I do this? Oh, there it is. Okay, someone, not me, tried to put a cash value to membership in NABIP. Yes, there's dues. Yes, there's, an application, that sort of stuff, just like any place else. But what's the value proposition? I don't necessarily agree with all these numbers, but they come up with $8,000. You'll hear me disagree in some areas. And again, I think only a 36-year member can answer that question. I'm not going to say that somebody was only a member for 2 years and wrote this. I don't know, but this is the PowerPoint for which I'm going to go through. So the first section, education. This is near and dear to my heart. Designations, exceptional professional development. This separates you from your competitors. You understand more than they do. These designations that are available, some of which are, I'm going to have to pull out the list because they're long. A couple of professional designations are the Registered Employee Benefit Consultant, the Chartered Healthcare Consultant, and the Registered Health Underwriter. That's an old one. That goes back to the NAHU days, but it's still there, and a lot of people have taken them. Now, they continue to offer up-to-date certifications. Some of the certifications that I'm going to go through here today, I personally wrote or assisted in writing or rejected and changed. They separate you from those who are just getting into the business or may not have the background that you can have by taking these courses. A new one that just came out, and frankly, I think Chris and I were in the same room when it was announced, is the Medicare Advantage certification. I have to read this, so bear with me, because I'm not in the Medicare market, so I don't want to goof this up. Medicare Advantage certification provides a rigorous instruction on the MAP plans, rules, latest market trends, and it not only meets all the CMS requirements, it has received approval from both national and regional carriers. That's launched right now, and that just happened within the last couple of months. I think the cost of that is, do you remember, Chris? It was like $100 or something like $100. Okay.
And for those who do Medicare, this does a lot of your AHIP stuff, and there's some kind of connection. Again, he and I don't do Medicare, but I remember they were all excited because you could do this and do your AHIP.
Well, I'm going to do Medicare sooner or later because I am going to go fishing this weekend. All right. So there is a time that it comes in, but I'm not in the Medicare market. But the list of programs and certifications that are available is long. There's 20 some that will fit your practice, whatever it might be. Is it Medicare? Is it individual? Is it small group? Is it large group? And I'll just touch on a couple of them. This list in its entirety is on the nabip.org website, and you can look at that when you have a chance. You'll find some that are interesting. Alphabetically, here's one, ACA and Beyond, a modern look at employee benefit certification. All right, so that's number one. Others, benefits account managers, You may be an account manager, so there's a certification for it, or you have a colleague that does your account management and maybe, they would like it. Ethics in business, diversity, group benefits, simply group benefits. Maybe you want to move into the group market. Basic concepts, advanced concepts in group. I had some involvement in those, all right. Health Insurance 101. We really backed up because I remember those days right out of college. I was happy that I gave me a company car. I didn't know what health insurance was. Frankly, I didn't even have any health insurance coming out of college. So we have written a basic 101 health insurance certification that's available. Others, pharmacy, big ticket item. And items 15 and 16, self-funded certification I was involved with, and advanced self-funded certification. These are very technical and very good programs that help you if you want to be into the larger group self-funded market. Let's see how much time I got. I'm looking at the clock. All right, just a couple more. Single payer healthcare, voluntary work site. I helped them on that one.
Do
And
you
here's a
know,
new.
Dean,
Yes.
so I know there's a lot of classes. I'm just looking at it really. There's a ton of certifications. You like want classes to learn things. Do
Yep.
these classes, do some of them or all of them or none of them also translate into CE credits? Because I know we were talking about our units, right? Offering very affordable continuing education credits, but do you know if all of these or most of these?
All of them do. And the
All of
reason, all of
them.
them,
Okay.
and the
So
reason, all of them have CE, and thank you for pointing that out. I keep forgetting that, all right? CE, yes, they file these in all states, believe it or not. They have a service that they submit the certification, they auto file it in all states, so that CE credit, depending on the length, I think the advanced self-funded one has 3 credits. So we're talking at least credits that are available in addition to the certification. One more set of initials you can put behind your name. But here's a new one, Chris, that I just saw myself this morning. Reference-based pricing models coming soon. So that's a new one. So list is long. Take a look at these and see if they pique your interest. So when it comes to education, I don't think $1,500 is enough. I simply don't. All right. Let's see. How do I do this again? Knowledge is power, obviously. Oh, I got to back up. Advocacy. All right, let's talk about this a little bit. A little bit more value, 2,500 could be close. This is a sweet spot for me. NABIP has a full-time lobbyist working on your behalf already. Whether you are a member now or not, they're still working for you. They are there full-time, dealing with the issues. And right now, I think they have a path worn out to CMS after all this Medicare stuff.
you're talking Medicare, ACA's been having their own issues too.
And the same, and yes, so they're going there all the time. So we have a full-time lobbyist. But they also have a legislative event for the members. And it's in March or Feb when Congress is in session. It's when you become the lobbyist, the citizen lobbyist. I've attended many of these conferences. Good speakers. We've had, I won't name some of them, but HHS people, CMS people, and they talk about the current trends of going on. But the main event is you're visiting with your legislators on the Hill. Having done that many times, and if there's somebody within the group that's uncomfortable, hey, I don't want to go in and see Senator what's his name, I'll go with them. And I'll say right out of the gate, I'm not in your district, I'm not in your state or whatever, and I'll help them through the process. They report to us. They work for us. All right. So we go into it and you become the citizen lobbyist, and they'll walk you through the current issues, talking points, and so on. And believe it or not, those folks in DC listen to the citizen lobbyist more so than the paid lobbyist. And we've seen that. I've also personally done congressional briefings. I was invited at the, can't remember who invited me, but long story, in the Cannon building where I presented during the ACA about how the rest of us buy health insurance. There was a piece on group, there was a piece on individual, and I handled the large group self-funding. And in the room were senators, congressmen, and their legislative aides. Now, when I'm there, frankly, I don't necessarily want to talk to the senator. I don't really want to talk to the congressman. I want to talk to the legislative aides. And in that room, they were the vast majority. These are the young folk. And some of them, when I look out, they're like, oh my God, they look 12 years old. They're the ones setting healthcare policy. They write it, present it to the senator or the congressman, and away we go. So an incredible opportunity, all right? So some states have their own lobbyist as well, I want to point out. Depending on the size of the state, you will have a lobbyist, or you're going to rent a part-time one, or you have citizen lobbyists like me. I've been in our state capital of Madison many times. Why? State mandated benefits. Think about that a second. In Wisconsin alone, if you add up all of the state mandated benefits on small group, it develops 11% of every premium dollar collected. That's a lot of money. And usually state mandates are a pet whim of a politician, that one of his constituents said, you know what? Why don't we cover hair transplant as a as a mandated benefit?
The required benefit. Yeah.
Think about that. And believe it or not, I'm not teasing, that is a mandated benefit in the state of Minnesota. Hair transplant for bald people. Now, insurance companies don't mind adding a mandate. They don't care. They just price it, they pass it down the food chain. Simple as
Right.
that. So some states will have legislative events. We called ours a day on the Hill. Go into Madison, meet with our legislators, talk state issues. So we don't ignore the state. Not everything is on the federal level. There's a lot of threats that go on the state level. So you stay in tune and you become involved. Operation Shout is an incredible tool as a member. You're alerted to something on a national and a state level. And Chris, I know you get the Operation Shouts. There are times when I get them, I didn't even know that that was going on. All right. And so it gives you the tool, the sample writing, the wording. You send a text, not a text, an email to your legislator in DC or in the state and give them your opinion. Operation Shout's a great tool.
It's great that you get an email, how those work. You get this email and they're like, here it is. Here's what we're doing. Here's the letter. Here's the people it's going to. If you agree, click these buttons and boom, you just send out their stuff to everybody. I mean, it's like, wow, I just sent 4 emails in 13 seconds. So
there it is. There it is. And that gets you involved in this process rather than dealing with it after the fact and saying, well, why in the heck did they do that? All right. Well, it's too late once it's done. NABIP also has a political action committee, a PAC. Let's face it, money talks. We can't deny that. I've personally delivered political action checks in Washington. They smile, I hand them a big check, they take a picture with me, and you know what? That does have an impact. I've also delivered PAC money here in Wisconsin. So money talks, so there is a political action committee. All right. Networking, underrated at $750. All right, underrated. I wouldn't have met Coach Chris here had it not been a networking event at Chicago. Wouldn't have happened. I think this is priceless. Industry's finest attend these meetings, and you get to talk to them. You get to meet with them. You get to meet with your competitors. I repeat, you get to meet with your competitors. You can see their shortfalls. Maybe you can partner on something. Maybe they know something you don't, or vice versa. You meet with your competitors. Now, NABIP, almost said NAHU, there it is. After 36 years, I almost slipped. NABIP actually has an annual convention, and that's where Chris and I met. Last year, or this past June, it was in Chicago. Last year was New Orleans. Next year, I think, is in Miami, South Beach, I think. I've been there before, and it's a nice facility. So these conventions are important. Exhibit halls with industry specialists coming in on a national level. products that you may not have heard about or vendor tools that you didn't know about. So there's always an exhibit hall. I love that. I mean, I get to meet new people coming into the business, new products that are available, and then I line them up with, like, Chris may need something and say, Chris had said that she needed something on a level funded product, and I'll introduce, So the annual convention that they have is very, very good. But your states also have them. Your state chapter will have an annual convention. Wisconsin had one in Wisconsin Dells. I think it was April. In the date, just so you know, Chris, it was just before opening of fishing. I wouldn't go if it wasn't fishing. State
So
convention.
you are getting to know, I mean, we just talked about the national networking, but your states, you actually get to then talk to people in your state or
Right.
surrounding states.
Yeah, good point. Surrounding. As a matter of fact, we'll have many exhibitors from Illinois will come in. They might be Bears fans, but we still let them in. They come in and they'll talk to our members. Minnesota folks come in once in a while from Michigan. So you get to meet vendors and people on a regional level. I think in our one in Wisconsin Dells in April, we had a lot of people come in from Nebraska. They liked the speakers, they liked what was going on, and they joined us. So networking is extremely important. And yes, they serve wine. That is the way it is. That's what networking is at these conferences, and it's worth much more than $750. All right.
That's actually where I met Miss Medicare. So
Did you
networking
really?
does work. That's where I first time I ever talked to her. Those of you who know her, I actually was on her training a couple weeks ago. I met her at NABIP.
Wow. I could go on for the next 2.5 hours, Chris, telling you people that I've met and admired and have connected with, have learned something from. If we're not learning, get out of the business, right? And sitting and talking to somebody that might be a competitor where he or she will slip and say, I've been using XYZ for stop loss. They're really good at it. I mean, they've got some really, oh, good, thank you. Well, I got a pretty good memory, so I learned, and I think the networking, I would say that that's worth $2,000 minimum. So not 750. All right. Discount and tools. Sounds silly, but vendors come to us and say, we have a tool. Would you like to offer it to your members? And of course, one very important discount is an errors and emissions policy. Discounted from the rest of the market. Many of you might be independent operations, so they have an errors and emission available policy to members. Benefit tech tools. This has always been fun. Being in the self-funded space, there's a lot of things that are bolted on to a self-funded product. Disease and care management, independent of the TPA, pharmacy plans, bolt-on stuff like that. And so they've brought many of those benefit tools. Shipping, believe it or not, it's either FedEx or somebody, get 10% off on shipping. It all adds up. So 750, that's pretty close. So the discounts and the tools that are available. All right. So any questions? Any questions so far? Or do you want to wait till the end?
So far, keep going.
Okay, all right. So
I
far,
mean, we had one about, do you have to be a member to take the course? And I know there's some you don't have to be, but usually the course discount is worth buying the membership.
That is correct. There is a good question, very good question. I should add that. There is a member price and then there's a non-member price. But obviously, when Chris at the end of the day is going to send you some information about your chapters, or if you'll see that the price is not that high. We're not talking like an attorney association fee. So you'll find that being a member makes the courses much more affordable, if you would. Okay, good question. Thank you. All right. Well, let me back up on the networking. Really important. I'm sorry, I missed a spot. Many times the chapters will also have monthly meetings or quarterly meetings, depending on the state. And that's when they bring in local vendors as speakers, local business leaders who might be involved in employer coalitions, maybe an attorney who wants to talk about some compliance issues. So the monthly meetings are very informative. And I've not attended a monthly meeting in NABIP that didn't offer CE. And I remember there was a time that I would get my 24 or 12, whatever it was at the time, just by attending the meetings. Show up and I automatically got my meetings as it was included. All right, back up here. Legislative, regulatory, compliance updates. I know, Chris, you use this. These are things that come in regularly. If there's an alert, this is in addition to the Operation Shout. This is, hey, do you know what's on the table at CMS these days? Blah, blah, blah. It gives you an edge. Everything ACA, as the title of this organization, all right, this group comes in, you get alerted. I think, Chris, you take it, forward it to your colleagues in your office, keeping everybody informed. Medicare, that's a buzzword these days. A lot's happening, and they try to pull the commission away, and we got to fight that. And some of the things that you've already heard about were a fight that NABIP took on. Frequent alerts, written updates. You'll get something sometimes almost every day if you want. There's a letter that goes out every day on news briefings, but also as the threats occur or results that NABIP has in certain levels. So stay informed. This is one way to stay informed. When you're reading this update and this afternoon you've got an appointment with your client and they ask that question, what did I hear about this? You're informed. You're informed over your competitors.
I get more notices of what's happening from these letters that come out than anything else, because I don't like listening to the news.
Yeah,
It's all biased, it's angry, it's bad, whatever. I'm like, I get it from this, and it's like, oh, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what's happening. And so, I mean, the newsletters that they send out, letting us know the compliance, what they're trying to do. Now, it's not 100% of everything they're doing. That would be,
Right.
old-fashioned yellow pages, but it is great. I mean, a lot of it is very like, oh, that's what's happening, and you're getting it from Capitol Hill. You're actually hearing what's happening there, not a news media necessarily talking about something.
Yeah, Chris, would you say that they're too frequent, that they bother you? I mean, I always ask that question. I mean,
it's daily, and if and there's a lot of repeats, so I don't feel like if I'm like, you know what, I don't have time to read this, but I typically will scroll through the headlines almost every day, and I forward it actually to my entire staff so that they can see what's happening, and some staff members care and some don't. If it was, every day is a lot, but to me, this is what I do every day, right? This isn't every day I'm getting an ad about buying a mattress that I'm like, stop emailing me. If I don't have time to read it that day, or I just scroll through, nothing's new for me. I just delete it. So if it was more than once a day, I think it would be way too much, but there's stuff that's happening all the time.
Right.
So I don't feel like it's too much. I don't know. I got Sam and Josh and John on here. If they think, because I don't always send it to them because sometimes it's late, but I'm sending it to them 3 or 4 times a week. It's nice to know what's happening in the legislation, because all of that stuff affects our job, and it affects how people are gonna show up in our office anxious, right? Because they're watching the news, and I can go, oh, I just read, you don't have to worry about that, or that's not our state, or there's
Right.
people fighting for that. So I like it.
Well, I've found, and people have said this to me, that work in the ACA market and they're dealing with their clients every day, that they've read these things. They didn't know it all. They didn't read it entirely. Maybe they saw the highlight that says, guess what? Effective January 1, we're not gonna, the CMS doesn't want to pay for head transplants or something, whatever, and they read it. Oh my God, that's crazy. And then that afternoon, they're with a client, and the client says, "Oh, I saw on CNN that they're gonna blah blah blah," and you can say, and I quote, "Well, yes, I have been alerted to that, But I'm a member of an organization that's going to be watching that carefully, and I will follow up with you with a clearer answer. And that notice came out that morning, and I've heard people use that tool. This tool separates you from your competitors. We all have competitors,
And
and this
Alicia, she actually posted on here, oh, I have strong opinions. That's, you see something you have a strong opinion about, that's your, all right, I need to start talking to the people that are talking to the people, right?
exactly,
You know,
yes,
I need to talk to my lobbyist. I need to talk to the people in the pack. I'm like, wait, how can I get my opinion? That's why I said before, well, NABIP, they're making regulation changes and stuff, whether you want them to or not. So if you want to have an opinion and you want your opinion heard, then get involved. And that's sometimes how I'm like, ooh, wait, what? And that one will go, I have an opinion. I have a very strong opinion about whatever that is. And then that's when I know I need to talk to somebody. So if you're that person who has a strong opinion and wants to, those newsletters are also great for that, because you'll see, oh, that's it. That's the article. That's the one they're deciding some stupid thing on, like ending paying people agents,
yeah,
this is how
yeah,
you'll
yeah.
see it sometimes before it hits the news. You'll see stuff that's happening. So,
Well, Chris, having first met you in June, I think it was, I
mhm.
have learned that you do have opinions on things, and that's good.
What? Me? No.
What? And that is the citizen lobbyist that I mentioned earlier, be it in the state or being at the federal government in Washington. They listen to the constituent a little bit more than the paid lobbyist. Obviously, they're not handing over $100,000 check underneath the table, all right? But you know what? They want to get reelected, all right, in their district. And so they're going to listen to you. They will give you 30 minutes. And no matter where you're at, 30 minutes. And believe it or not, as you've already noticed, I can talk pretty fast in 30 minutes and I can get my point across. I remember an unnamed, I won't say his name, but you'll recognize him. I went in there and he was after me about a particular issue. He referred to it as an entitlement. And I said, what? And I gave him my opinion. And I remember at the same time, he said, we're trying to do some pricing. We don't know where to go. How do we get this done? You insurance companies always have the answers. And I said, I tell you what, I can get you a raft of actuaries to help you. What? And so I directed this politician, who will remain nameless, to a carrier who will remain nameless, and they got together and they helped him price. Had I not been in the room that day, he would have struggled. And how do you get a price on some of the things that are being done? So my point is the citizen lobbyist, and I'm talking too much, and I'm sorry, is the important thing. So where am I now? Legislative. So stay informed to the threats. Oh, I got a few more. How much time I got? All right.
We're 15 to the top of the hour. So,
Okay, I can scramble.
all right.
All right, be informed. Chris just said, you got an opinion? And we know Chris will share her opinions.
They all know
Uh,
my ACA opinions. So
I'm sure they do.
why are we the
Well,
redheaded stepchild? But
I'm almost afraid to tell this to Chris, but there is a little tool on the NABIP. It's called Ask NABIP. It is an online portal. You have a question? Why does Dean talk too much? Bob Trotter will probably answer. We'll just give him 5 more minutes. That's all. Or something really important. They will get back to you many times within 24 hours, but no later than 48, I think is the rule. You got an answer you need, they'll give it to you. So talk about, you've got a question, a concern, where do I go for this? It's called Instant Answer Portal. Specific portals just for specialty practices. For example, if you just marketed long-term care stuff, there's a portal for them. Or Medicare, there's a portal for them. Or the compliance corner. What about this? What about all these things that they have to do to help your clients to comply? That tool is there. So it's ready to go. All right. Industry news and reviews, we talked about that, but there is a magazine called BIP. Cute. BIP. Benefit Insurance Professional, just how I say it. And it is a monthly magazine. I've written many articles for it, many. So if you Google it, my face will pop up all over the place, all right? And uh, industry leaders will put in articles, not errors and emissions, but mergers and acquisitions, what's going on. Some carriers will announce new product offerings. It comes out monthly. It's a good read. And as a matter of fact, that magazine, and Chris, you may not know this, we actually send it to every member in Congress, both sides of the House. So that, and I've walked in since, oh, no names. I walked into his office and BIP magazine was on his desk, along with 50 others, but it was there. So the magazine is there. Um, there's also the industry updates in the magazine, and you'll see various articles pop out from there that are worthwhile. Some you can request in PDF format and may use and maybe for your clients, or just tear it out and show it to them. All right, looking at the time here. Promotion. Number one, as a member, they promote you, the agent. That's who they work for. NABIP staff and the association, though nonprofit, works for you, the member. One tool which stands out is the Find an Agent portal. You can use that now. You can type in your zip code, see who your competitors are who are members. What it does is this. I get a call. And hey, do you know anything about Medicare? No. But how'd you find my name? Well, they went to the Find an Agent portal. They typed in my zip code. My name popped up first alphabetically, and boom, they called me. So a great tool for consumers to find an agent. I know the agent is under pressure. We're working for you, and we have referred customers to you, so you get promoted as a member. Social media feeds, as much as it bugs me to see some of this stuff, you'll see stuff come from NABIP, Wisconsin, NABIP, National on both LinkedIn, Facebook, and all the other ones that we're promoting the use of an agent. Periodic press releases you'll see. We will go into the press with the eyes of the consumer involved, that here's what NABIP is doing for the consumer. So there will be press releases on that regard. And there's lots of them. There's also a newsroom portal on the NABIP page where you can see past news releases. One came out recently, Dean's fishing more, so don't bother him. Just kidding. All right. Okay, periodic press releases, legislative issues that are going on, and of course, always promoting the use of and the value of an agent. Okay, credibility. For once, they priced it right. Priceless. You will know this industry better than your competitors. This brings you more business. This grows your business. When you can answer the questions above your competitors, you get the client. You know what's going on. So your credibility, you know it better than your competitors. You know legislative issues better than your competitors. Be able to answer that question. Well, what's this that I see in CNN or MSNBC or whatever? Oh, well, we're actually looking at that right now. We don't have an answer, but yes, we are aware, and I'll get back to you. Very important. You will be able to stand out over non-members in your marketplace and within your specific practice, what product lines you want to market. So I should back up. How do I do that? No, never mind. I don't know how to do that. Annual value, 8,000. The website is nabip.org as a nonprofit. $8,000 is what it's valued at. Some agencies, many agencies, the ones that I've worked for and helped create, pay for this. They will pay for the dues. Why? Look at the education that's involved. Look at the legislative details that are provided. Many agencies will pay for that, but my preference is pay for it myself. That's been my preference. That's up to you. There are agency memberships available where the whole agency becomes available as a member. Those are available. Now, when you go look at nabip.org on your free time, after you've sold at least 3 policies yet today, and you look at it, it is firewalled. All of these good things, the compliance, the portals, are all member driven. You need to be a member to get through, so you won't see some of the things I talked about today. What you will see on the front page, on the very first page of NABIP, is find an agent. That's the #1 link on page 1. So you don't have to be a member to find an agent, which is what we want. And that is a very active tool. There's also, and I don't think you can get it as a non-member, a speakers bureau. When you may have a community outing that you've been invited to speak, but you don't want to do it, you can go to that and find a speaker on a topic that's nearby that'll help you out there. And some of those are, or I should say, most of them are members. So firewall for members only. It's 10 minutes of. I do talk to myself, but if I answer myself, get help. All right. Well, I guess that's it. I thank you for your time today. I want to close by this. Consider membership in NABIP. It could be the very best decision you've made in your career. It was for me 36 years ago, when perhaps many of you were not even born. I joined NABIP, and it has been the best thing for me. Why did I join? Only because they say this is where the best show up. Started meeting them, going to their meetings. I went through the chairs in Wisconsin, became president, went through the chairs at NABIP, and I was their membership chair nationally on the board of directors. And as you can tell from my conversation, was also the chair of professional development. I helped write a lot of these programs. So it will be the best decision you make. And so Coach Chris is going to send out at her leisure a 1 or 2 page PDF that kind of narrows it down to the chapters within your states. Some states have lots of chapters. Wisconsin just has 1, California is 12. So in there will be the pricing models for the dues and whatnot. And I appreciate your time and your willingness to learn about this industry. So questions?
And I'll let you know, the average cost is between 39 to, for these are monthly. California's got the most expensive. Sacramento's like $54 a month, but you know, it's Sacramento and everything's more expensive there. So same with Florida, there's a couple, but most of them are in the 30s. Georgia's in the 40s. So it's not going to break the bank. You can pay annually and just be done. But it's affordable. If you're in Alabama, I was looking at that, we're looking at $39.58, you know, so it depends on your city, your state, where you're close to. Arizona's only got 1 chapter. Okay, you know, New Mexico's got 1 chapter. It's only $37. So you can do monthly, annually. So if you have questions, does anyone have questions about NABIP? I mean, I don't know if he can tell you what they're doing about the whole CMS and having to call the marketplace and all that, because NABIP is trying to work on that as well. You know, you're kind of like banging against a brick wall. But yeah, if anybody has questions, we would let us know.
Go ahead.
I think so. Was it Roz?
Yeah, I
Yep.
typed it in. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
So what is the difference between the Lone Star Virtual and the city ones?
Good question. All right. They're within, and I'm assuming you're looking at the page that lists all of the chapters in Texas. All right. I'm just guessing Lone Star is not Illinois, right? Okay, just
Not
kidding.
usually.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got a lot of good friends down there in Texas. Crystal Hoffman is one. She's in Galveston and no relation. But anyway, the difference is a chapter was formed within a particular marketing community. Like you might have a Dallas chapter, you might have a Galveston chapter. They're really the cities where they're a focus within the state. And so within the state bylaws, they've created chapters. And then they may have lots like in California. And so the only difference is the leadership. And I think you can click on each one of them and see who the leaders are, and see who their leadership folks are.
And that's, I think you're the only state, I was just kind of looking, that has a virtual. So if you're not close to Austin, Fort Worth, I mean, Texas is big. And so I think if you're so that's that virtual. So now you're part of the virtual, they're not going to have in-person meetings. Ironically, Alaska, which is bigger than Texas, only has one, but their cities are all close to each other. So Texas is the only one I see that has a virtual chapter, but then you're not going to the in-person ones.
Well, in my humble opinion, the virtuals are great. And actually they popped up a lot during our 3-year COVID stint. But I tell you what, there's nothing better than being with your competitors in the room and seeing who they're talking to and see how they're getting along with the vendors and stuff like that. So I personally would take the live one, given the opportunity.
Yeah, I like live. I mean, I do this, but that's because you won't all fit in my office every week. Any other questions about NABIP? I mean, they've been around a long time. Out of, if you want to do the virtual hand, how many are current members of NABIP? We've got just me. So, all right, which is good. That's what I wanted to talk was new people that don't necessarily know everything NABIP's doing. You don't have to be, like I said, I've been a member for a long time and I wasn't doing anything. So it's not like you're now required. And I found out Wisconsin wasn't doing a particularly good job. So I'm like, oh, no wonder I didn't know anything was happening. But some states are more involved in other states, but I found value just from those shout outs where I would like, oh my goodness, this is something that needs to go, and sent that to the staff. So I put a link for the find an agent. I put that in the chat. I mean, that's right at the top, like you said, on the main page. I fill out anybody can do that fill out form, which I find interesting. It's like, I want to say something, your voice matters. And I thought it's in fact, I'm going to share it because in case anybody didn't click on it. I think it's kind of cool that it's your name, right? And how are you? And it just says a public citizen. So
it is open. See, I didn't know it was open to the public.
Yeah,
didn't know that until right now.
The voice your matter. So if we've had clients that have been totally, ripped off by either, the call centers or hospital systems or something with insurance. They could go here and put their voice here, even as a public citizen, and press and media. And you can do praise, feedback, request, question, other, which I guess would be not praise. I don't know. Something else. What are your areas that you can look for? Other. And then they even have this, I speak feedback. You don't want to type, click this button, just record it, and then they're going to get it. And the new president of NABIP has said, they want to have a response to this within 48. So, they really are trying to help. If you're like, nah, I'm fine, they can do whatever they want, and I'm just going to do my thing, that's fine too. But I wanted everybody to kind of see what NABIP is doing. And they've been around a long time. Like I said, underwriters, and Mom's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's such a long story. And I remember that meeting, and it was a board meeting in Washington, D.C. I'm the young guy from Wisconsin. I raised my hand and I says, what the hell is this underwriter stuff? I'm not an underwriter. They're the ones that make our lives miserable sometimes. All right. We used to have our underwriter, we used to call him Carl Decline. He would decline everything. All right. Decline.
Right.
All right. So my point is, underwriter, no, Dean, we're not going to change the name. Well, they did. It was like 2 years ago. And I remember sending a note to the then president, or incoming president, Kulsdorf, and I says, it's about time. So anyway.
I think everybody thought it's about time. Otherwise, thank you very much for jumping in on this Thursday. Thank you so much, Dean. I'm really glad you said hi to me. And we got to meet in the Chicago, and it was at one of the dinners we were sitting there talking and, you know, so I'm really happy to now start getting involved in NABIP a little bit more. In fact, in our Wisconsin chapter, well, it was our chapter meeting, I convinced them to add ACA to the Medicare conference that they always have. And they said, well, nobody's ever asked. And I'm like, here I
See,
am. So
there it is.
I volunteered myself to help them put ACA into their insurance conference. So,
Excellent.
you know, thank you for Dean and NABIP and everybody else. Have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you all next week.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.